Hello, true crimers, and welcome to Only Murders and the Missing, a podcast presented by UQ Criminal. Join us as we explore the fascinating world of true crime. In each episode, we'll take a deep dive into the story, unraveling the mystery and uncovering the cases that still haunt us. Through our podcast, we will shed light on the victims, honoring their memories and seeking justice on their behalf. Beyond storytelling, we are advocates for the missing and the murdered, lending our voices to those who can no longer speak for themselves. So, grab your headphones and prepare to join our mission. Are you ready? Welcome to Only Murders and the Missing. Episode 20, Tiffany Valiante, Death by Train or a Botched Investigation. 18-year-old Tiffany Valiante was last seen on a deer cam, walking alone in the dark, shortly before she was found dead. Was it suicide or murder? On the 12th of July, 2015, Tiffany Valiante was struck by a train in her hometown of Mays Landing, New Jersey. However, her case isn't everything that it seems to be. The high schooler had just recently graduated from Oakcrest High School and was planning to go to college in the fall. She had her whole life ahead of her. Just after 11 p.m., almost 5 miles away from home, Tiffany was struck by a southbound New Jersey transit train going 80 miles per hour. Her arms and legs had been ripped from her body. Her death has been officially ruled a suicide, but not everyone believes she killed herself. In fact, her family is convinced Tiffany was murdered. It was 2014, and Tiffany was having issues with her mom, Diane. Child Protective Services had to be called to their home multiple times. As a result, they went to counseling together, and for the time being, it seemed as though things were resolved. Diane says her quarrels with her daughter were nothing more than the typical teenage drama between a parent and their rebellious child. It wasn't long after this when Tiffany began smoking pot. She struggled with feeling alone. Her friends say that at the beginning of 2015, she had self-harmed after she came out as gay. Despite this, the teenager still managed to earn a scholarship and had every intention of attending college in New York. On the night in question, Tiffany and her parents had gone to a graduation party for her cousin. When they got home later that evening, a friend of Tiffany's called the Valiantes to ask them if they could meet up. She said she needed to tell them something very important. When Diane and Stephen met with that friend at her home, she claimed Tiffany had stolen her debit card and had used it while shopping. A receipt confirming this was later found in Tiffany's bedroom. However, when Tiffany was confronted about the accusation, she denied it. While they were searching Tiffany's car, Diane saw her daughter trying to conceal the debit card in her pants pocket. Infuriated, she went into the house to get Steve, but when they got back outside, Tiffany was nowhere to be found. In only a matter of a few minutes, the promising high school graduate had simply vanished. They found Tiffany's cell phone on the ground at the end of the driveway. It was extremely unusual for her to go anywhere without her cell phone. This was a major red flag. Family and friends quickly gathered to search the neighborhood for any signs of the teen. They initially assumed that she was just hiding out somewhere close by. But after finding nothing, her parents frantically called the police at 11:30 p.m. to report her missing. Unfortunately, after an extensive search by police, a woman's body was found on the nearby train tracks. It was Tiffany. She had been hit by a passing train at 11:07 p.m. Her body was dragged along the tracks for a quarter of a mile before the train was able to come to a full stop. When she was found, Tiffany was only wearing underwear. Strangely, her feet didn't look as though she had just walked 5 miles barefoot. Tiffany's toxicology report came back clean. She was not under the influence of drugs or alcohol when she died. The medical examiner's report said Tiffany's arms and legs were cut away from her torso. If she had been hit by a train, her limbs would not have looked cut. Despite this discovery, investigators assumed she had walked out in front of the engine that night, intentionally taking her own life. Shortly after the tragic death of her daughter, Diane says that while walking around the woods near her home, she came across Tiffany's headband and shoes. These items were miles away from where the girl had been killed. How did they get there? She also found a keychain and a sweatshirt, both of which did not belong to Tiffany. Mysteriously, the keychain disappeared while in police custody before it could be analyzed by the forensics lab. On the edge of the driveway near a wooded area, a last chilling image of Tiffany was captured by a trail camera shortly after she went missing. She can be seen wearing the headband and shoes that her mother later found in the woods. Yet another tragedy involved in this case is that the scene of her death was never properly searched, a rape kit was never performed, and some of the evidence was improperly preserved, allowing for mold to grow inside the packaging. The shirt she had been wearing that evening was hastily packed into a plastic bag. Many items were even left outside at the scene and exposed to the elements for weeks before they were ever collected by investigators. Most of the evidence in Tiffany's case is contaminated and further DNA testing cannot be done. Even more perplexing, the New Jersey Transit Authority found an axe at the scene, which was described as having strange, unexplainable red marks. What these marks are, no one knows. As with the other items collected, the axe was also lost and was never processed for evidence. Later, the engineer who had been driving the train when Tiffany was hit changed his account of what happened. He claims that Tiffany had jumped out in front of the engine and he couldn't stop in time. Years have gone by. Diane and Stephen Valiante are still looking for answers as to what happened to their beloved daughter that terrible night. According to D'Amato law firm, Tiffany suffered from a condition known as nyctophobia, an extreme or irrational fear of the night or darkness. Knowing this, it doesn't make sense that Tiffany would wander off into the dark by herself. The family refuses to believe the suicide theory. They claim that Tiffany was laid across the tracks to cover up another crime. Their attorney, Paul D'Amato, agrees. He says the victim definitely met with foul play. A strange clue added to the mystery, a social media post Tiffany made the day before her death. It read, "Dude, I probably shouldn't be, but I'm kinda content right now." What she meant by this message isn't entirely known. Her family insists the post doesn't sound like someone planning to end their life. Eventually, a convenience store worker came forward with an alarming story. He claimed he overheard 3 coworkers talking about Tiffany's death. According to him, they said a man and 2 women had picked Tiffany up in a car, and while threatening her with a gun, they took her clothes off near the train tracks. But when police questioned the 3 suspects, they denied everything. With no solid evidence of a crime, they couldn't be arrested on any charges, and investigators closed the case as a suicide. If Tiffany was taken out to the train tracks and murdered, her killer or killers have gotten away with it. In an interview with the Daily Beast, Diane said, "There's somebody out there that did this. There's a murderer walking around." The family has appealed to have her case reopened and re-examined. They have spent thousands of dollars of their own money trying to solve the mystery of what happened to their daughter. Everyone close to Tiffany says that she was not depressed and would never have committed suicide. And there is no solid evidence to support otherwise. The state of New Jersey has declined to change the manner of death in this case. A memorial has been erected at the site near the train tracks where Tiffany lost her life. Her family and friends have left pictures, mementos, and even a radio that plays music 24/7, which was constructed by her dad. Stephen also completed the volleyball court he always promised to make for his daughter. A simple, elegant plaque lies in the Valiante's backyard. It reads, planted in loving memory of Tiffany Valiante. March 3rd, 1997 to July 12th, 2015. Rooted in love, forever in our hearts. So, what really happened to Tiffany that night? Was she lured or forced into a vehicle at the end of the driveway just out of sight of the camera? Was she trying to escape someone and accidentally ran into the train? Was she murdered and then placed onto the tracks to conceal the evidence? But what would be the motive for murder? There are so many possibilities in this case. For now, the questions surrounding the circumstances of her suspicious death remain unsolved. If you know anything about the night Tiffany Valiante was killed, you can reach out confidentially to the New Jersey Attorney General Tips Hotline at 800-277-2427 or Crime Stoppers of Atlantic County at 609-652-1234. There is a $40,000 reward available for anyone who can help solve this ongoing mystery. Are you addicted to true crime? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this case. To connect with me and read more true crime stories, go to unquestionablycriminal.com, and I'll see you in the next episode.